headlines. The Nifty is up 30 points, Sensex is up 45 points.
Flat on the benchmark indices, the mid-caps too, trading absolutely flat.
Nifty is up 8 points. It has recovered from the lows, but nevertheless, it is in that consolidated range.
The market not doing very much at all on the Nifty. Actually, the mid-cap and the small-cap indices are doing only slightly better. There was a bit of a sort of sell-off towards close, so the Nifty will end lower. The Bank Nifty ends slightly in the red.
Hello and welcome to CNBC TV 18. You're watching Markets Today, the show where we track about 6 hours of the day's trading action in just 5 headlines. I'm Ekta Batra. Here are the top stories for the day. India's stock markets take a breather after Friday's blistering rally. Sensex and Nifty end flat with a negative bias after a range-bound trading session. Metal stocks surge as China's economy opens up. Pharma stocks falter as weak quarter and guidance along with governance concerns weigh on Aurobindo Pharma, while margin pressures haunt Alkem. NATCO also sees a cut after Walgreens files an antitrust lawsuit in the US regarding its cancer drug Revlimid generic. Grasim reports a weak set for the second quarter, missing street estimates on net profit, revenue and EBITDA. Bharat Forge also posts a weak performance that pushed the stock 3% lower after margins fell 590 basis points and long-term debt rose. LIC posts its biggest gain since listing intraday on the back of strong premium collection and new business. InfoEdge also clocks gains of 6% after revenues grew above 50% for the fourth consecutive quarter. Meanwhile, Zee Entertainment and Sun TV take a beating as weakness in advertising revenue weighs. Wholesale inflation dips below double-digit mark to 8.39% in October, sees a massive drop from September when it was 10.7%. All eyes on retail inflation data to be released shortly. RBI governor expects CPI to be under 7%. All right, those were all of the top stories that we're tracking. Here's a lineup of what we have in store for you. It's a packed show this evening. In Market Opinion, we have Prateek Gupta, CEO and co-head Institutional Equities at Kotak Securities. And in Big Corporate Voices, we have Satish Pai, MD of Hindalco. Well, straight to the market action this evening. It was a day which was quite quiet on Dalal Street, which saw consolidation as markets await inflation data this evening. The range-bound session saw the Sensex, Nifty and Nifty Bank end flat, but with a slight negative bias. But mid-caps fared slightly better. Prashant Nair is here with all the day's trading action. Prashant.
Well, the market paused, consolidated for the bulk of the session, and towards the end slipped a little bit. Nothing large, small cuts, but not just the Nifty, the Bank Nifty and the mid-cap index also ending in the red. The small-cap index ended with a gain of about 0.4% or so. Market breadth also slipped. It was exactly almost 1:1, but declines outnumbered advances by the time we shut shop at 3:30. FMCG and PSU banks saw some pullbacks. Again, these were marginal moves. And what did well was metals, real estate and the IT services space. IT services stocks have been doing well over the last many sessions. Nifty gainers, large caps, Hindalco. There was Apollo Hospitals and Tata Motors which ended higher. On the losing side, you had names like Dr. Reddy's, ITC and Coal India. I have to say, although declines outnumbered advances, but the number of stocks which went up on huge volumes, I think it just completely dwarfs what was happening on the losing side. So it's a long list, but look at Naukri, that's InfoEdge, look at LIC, Cochin Shipyard, some of them, of course, reacting to numbers, others not. Manappuram, Fortis went up almost, actually back above 300 rupee levels. Ircon, Dr. Lal Pathlabs, Godfrey Phillips, Dredging Corporation, MedPlus sort of came off the day's high, but big gains there. Newland Laboratories has been having a fantastic week. KIMS, the hospital chain, Angel, Action Construction, Repco, and so on and so forth. As I said, it's a long list, but important to highlight the breadth of the move that we saw in the broader space. So a quiet consolidation type of session today. You'll hear from a lot of regional Fed presidents over the next couple of days. Actually, there are 14 Fed speaking engagements lined up this week. And why that is important is because markets will wait to hear from Fed officials about their interpretation of the market's reaction to the softer inflation data and the subsequent up move. So that's where we're at. A bit of a consolidation, slow kind of session, but we'll pick all of this right up when we come back tomorrow morning.
Okay, all right, Prashant. Thanks very much for that. Let's get in some expert opinion then. Prateek Gupta, CEO and co-head Institutional Equities at Kotak Securities says that India has outperformed all emerging markets by a huge margin. He added that the new age companies may see some short-term disorderly selling.
India has really outperformed by a mile compared to other emerging markets this year. Just to put some numbers in perspective, India is up about 5-6% year to date, whereas China, for example, is down some 25-27%. The MSCI EM index is down about 25-26%. And we think we're getting to a point where valuations are really getting stretched. India is now, the Nifty is trading at about 19 times FY24 earnings, 17 times FY25 earnings. And the premium to MSCI EM is now gone up to 100%. So India has always traded at a premium, but this time around, it's gone way beyond the normal range of about 40 to 60%. In the short term, there is a risk of a disorderly selling that can come about. If all the sellers who are locked up, they rush to sell the stock at the same time. But typically, in our experience, we've not seen that happen. Most of the sellers are not necessarily desperate sellers.
Okay, so that's the opinion that we got through the day. But on to the second headline that we're tracking now. Pharma stocks faltered as weak quarter and guidance along with governance concern weighed on Aurobindo Pharma. Margin pressures haunted Alkem, while Natco also saw cuts after Walgreens filed a US antitrust lawsuit regarding its cancer drug Revlimid generic. So just to take you through a couple of key points with regards to a couple of these companies, Aurobindo Pharma did allude to a lot of competition in the oral solid space in their conference call, and this competition led to price erosion. Their guidance for injectables also, which was $650 to $700 million, has now been pushed to FY25 versus FY24 earlier. Now, there have been concerns with regards to one of the promoter directors, Sarath Reddy, and they did clarify that he was looking at IT logistics. His responsibilities will be reallocated and he will probably be a non-executive director going forward. Alkem, margins were hit. 15% is what they've reduced the guidance to versus 16% earlier. And the US business was impacted by double-digit price erosion. The likes of Nomura have downgraded the stock to neutral and cut the target price as well. Well, a couple of other companies which were in focus included something like MedPlus as well, where there was a net addition of 348 stores. They are focusing on new cities as well. And the company and brokerages were quite positive with regards to MedPlus. Credit Suisse, for example, has upgraded the stock to outperform from neutral. They've cut the target price to around 750. They believe that there are benefits from a maturing store network. Nomura has reaffirmed their buy on MedPlus with a target of 928. Remember that they were also participating in the Axis Capital Rising Stars conference today, so maybe a lot of added momentum on MedPlus. Separately, lastly, the likes of Natco was in focus, Dr. Reddy's was in focus because there's a US antitrust lawsuit with regards to the cancer drug, the blockbuster cancer drug Revlimid generic, which Walgreens, which is basically a distributor of pharma drugs in the US, has now filed against BMS, which is basically the patent holder, as well as Teva and Natco, which were the first launchers. Teva and Natco are in partnership for this particular drug. And what this could do is probably increase the risk of litigation on other companies which have settled with BMS as well, the likes of Dr. Reddy's, and hence you probably saw a decline on account of this piece of news. So that's all what took place in the pharmaceutical space. There were also stocks such as Fortis, which were higher on the back of their numbers within the entire space. But on to the third headline then. Grasim reported what was a weak set of numbers for the second quarter of the fiscal. The cement company missed street estimates on net profit, revenue and EBITDA. Nigel D'Souza is here with more.
Well, Grasim's numbers actually were a bit of a miss, but that's a standalone entity. Remember, for Grasim, you get bulk of its share value from its holding in UltraTech Cement. And the street is pegging its hopes that the cement business will do well. That's UltraTech Cement. So this is an indirect way of playing the cement business. Now, in terms of their numbers, the top line, the EBITDA, as well as the profitability, well, it was lower than what our poll dropped. So that goes down as a miss. And the segmental breakup, but the chemicals business did well, and that was expected to do well. However, the VSF business was a little more disappointing than what already the street was waiting by for. They gave some comments as well on the paint business, and they say that the first plant will be commissioned from the fourth quarter of FY24, And from there on, you'll see other plants as well that will get commissioned. So all in all, the standalone numbers were a miss. The street is pegging its hopes on the cement business recovering. And as I said, it's an indirect way of playing UltraTech Cement. And also in the next 18 months or so, you'll have the paints division that will start contributing.
Okay, all right, Nigel. Thanks very much for that. Let's move on and stick with major earnings then. Bharat Forge lost around 3%. This is after a weak performance that saw margins fall 590 basis points and long-term debt rise. Sonia Shenoy, who's been tracking these numbers, joins in with a wrap.
Well, thanks a lot for that. Now, Bharat Forge was under pressure after reporting very weak set of numbers in Q2. The biggest disappointment really came on the margin front, where the margin for the company fell 590 basis points year on year, coming in at 24.3%. It was also a steep sequential decline for the margins. Apart from that, the company had recently undertaken 2 acquisitions, because of which the long-term debt has risen 8.5% to 2,510 crores. Not just that, the overseas subsidiaries of Bharat Forge are under a lot of pressure. Overseas subsidiaries had posted both EBITDA as well as a PBT loss in the quarter gone by. Now, when we spoke to the management indicated that the overall demand trends are stable, but in the overseas market, there is quite a bit of pressure in markets like Germany because of the supply side situation over there. The debt has gone up because of the 2 acquisitions, and they mentioned that both these acquisitions are doing pretty well, and they hope to see results very soon. The other thing that the management did speak about is that they expect a stable performance going forward in both the export as well as the domestic market, and the European aluminum operations will show a gradual recovery over the next 2 quarters.
Okay, all right, Sonia, thanks very much for that. Meanwhile, Baba Kalyani, the CMD of Bharat Forge, said the company is facing a challenge in Germany and their real problem lies in the German market. He added the situation will improve in the coming quarters.
The real problem is in Germany. Germany is facing some acute inflationary issues on energy and other inflationary pressures, and a lot of disruption in supply chains, and I think that is what has impacted our business. We had geared up for higher production and therefore had higher manpower in place, and that didn't happen. I think it will take another 2 quarters and we will be back to where we were. We have had a fairly good record on our German aluminum business. Ever since inception, it's never made a loss. This is the first quarter that it's ever made a loss, and I think we have taken some corrective actions. Hopefully, it will be all right in 2 quarters.
Okay, so that's the word coming in from Bharat Forge. Time for a break now, but stay tuned. We'll be back in a jiffy with all of the other top stories.